Good evening, everyone. Welcome to National Action Network Legal Night. It is the last Thursday of the month. It is Legal Night at National Action Network. We're so pleased to have everyone with us this evening. Those of you that may not be aware, since the COVID situation has been happening, we have continued to do legal night. We did legal night live in January.
This is something else. These are two different things.
Beginning in March, we had to, because of the COVID, we had to not have a live audience. None of the attorneys could be present because we couldn't have any live presence at all. And so William Allen and I, William Allen's our crisis director, we continue to do legal night right here from the House of Justice on our webcast only, and had invited people to send questions in via legal night at nationalactionnetwork.net. And so we had been doing that for the last several months. So this is the first month that we've been able to invite the attorneys back, and we are so pleased to have the attorneys with us this evening, and we're going to let them all say hello in just a little bit. And we also have our public audience and our supporters that are participating in the program this evening through our connection through Zoom and through Facebook Live. So we want to welcome everyone to National Action Network's Legal Night. Once again, if it's the last Thursday of the month, it is Legal Night at National Action Network. And so welcome to everyone. Now, as we always do, Legal Night so much is part of the attorneys that make up our Legal Night team. And we could not do Legal Night without the support and the presence of the attorneys that have supported us throughout our 10 years of doing Legal Night. And sometimes when we think about that this is technically our 10th year that we're in, Joe Schmelnick can correct me if I'm wrong, but we have been blessed in these 10 years, and we have been very happy to be able to bring Legal Night to you. So one of the things that we always start out with is we always let everyone know the roster of attorneys that are part of the Legal Night team. And our Legal Night team consists of attorney Robert Bellison, Andrew Burson, David Blum, Gary Certain, who I believe is on and with us tonight. Gary is also part of the law firm Certain and Zilberg. Kyle Edmonds, Jeffrey Emden, and I believe Jeffrey is with us this evening. Barry Fett, who's part of the Ella Tefrakis law firm. Carmen Giordano, Pete Gleason, Kenneth Gilbert, Gabe Harbis, who's part of the Ella Tefrakis law firm. Ted Kessler, Glenn Myers, Kim Parker, Edward Machado, Royce Paso, who I believe is with us tonight, Joe Schnell, part of the Duncan Associates. He served with Wiley Secretary, and I believe Wiley is with us, or he's going with us, and Kareem Bessa. We always give thanks to the support staff at Legal Night, and of course that includes our crisis director, William Allen, Brenda Knott, Winston Gilchrist, who's our videographer, Dimitri Denise, who's one of our volunteers, Maxine Lewis, who Maxine has passed away, but we always call Maxine's name because she was so much a part of Legal Night and all the work that was done to make this program what it is, and our prayers and our prayers and our thoughts have always remained with Maxine Lewis. She was one of the real heroes of Harlem, and we love her and appreciate her, and so we call her name on every legal night. Coven McCall, Derek Perkinson, who helped support the New York State operations at National Action Network, Patrice Perry, one of the coordinators here at National Action Network, Brenda Rickards, Arthur Robinson, and we tonight have gotten special assistance from the head of the huddle team at National Action Network, and that's the Honorable Ashley Sharpton, and we really thank her for her participation this evening. Also, additionally, two of the founding members of Legal Night were persons that are now judges in the state of New York, and that's the Honorable Sandria Edwards and the Honorable J. Machel Sweeting. So we welcome all of you. We thank all of you for signing on. I think our plan is to we're going until 9 o'clock, and of course we hope that all of you can stay with us during that time, because we are going to hear from the attorneys, and then we're going to have time for you to ask your questions and get right into that. So just two things of information that we want you to know. And of course, we're also broadcasting on our webpage live. Of course, we want to remind everybody that we are preparing for our August 28th program, which is our commitment march, Get Your Knee Off Our Necks. We will be gathering at the Lincoln Memorial. Of course, a lot of the planning for this is still going on, and of course, everyone is very conscious of the COVID pandemic, and of course, so plans are being made for a good part of that march and rally to be virtually broadcast. But nevertheless, there are going to be people in the DC region and in other regions that will be gathering in DC, and to get all of the current information for the March on Washington, you can always call our toll-free number, 877-626-4651, and you can go online at nationalactionnetwork.net to get additional information that you may need with regard to that. We've also been letting everybody know that the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton has a great book coming out. We all believe it's going to be a bestseller. It is coming out through HarperCollins, and we always give people the information so that they can order the book or pre-order the book. And it is the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, Rise Up, and and you can go to www.alsharptonbook.com to be able to pre-order, and the book is Rise Up, A Nation at the Crossroads by Al Sharpton. And so you can go to www.alsharptonbooks.com and be able to pre-order the book. And when you go to that website, you're able to obviously order the book from any number of the book sites, but that is the one place where all the information on the book is gathered, and so you can go right there to do that. The other two things that we just want to say up front and remind everybody about is, the march on August 28th of course, is very important. It comes about, of course, as a result of the protest movement that began as a result of the killing of George Floyd. And we have seen a lot of motion around the country. But of course, motion, as we always say, has to be demonstration to legislation. And two of the pieces of legislation that are going to be very important that are going and that we need to get passed are two pieces of legislation. One is the George Floyd Justice Act, and that is an act that's being introduced into the Congress, and we will be fighting for its passage. The bill addresses a wide range of policy and issues regarding police practices and law enforcement accountability. The bill will facilitate federal enforcement of constitutional violations of excessive force by state and local officials. It will lower the criminal intent standard from willful to knowing or reckless. It will limit qualified immunity as a defense, and it will authorize the Justice Department to issue subpoenas in investigation of police departments for pattern and practice discrimination, some of which, of course, the federal government has those powers in other areas, but specifically, as we saw in New York State, who passed a law to be able to hold police accountable, criminally liable for chokeholds. The second part, of course, many people witnessed today, the final funeral for Congressman John Lewis, and the United States Congress is gathering once again to try to correct what happened to the Voting Rights Act. We know in 2013 in Shelby versus Holder, the United States Supreme Court gutted Section 4 of the Voting Act, really disabling the Voting Rights Act in terms of its usefulness. And so in honor of John Lewis, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is being reintroduced into the Congress and the United States Senate. And of course, there'll be a major pressure, and that's part of what the commitment march will be. So we want everybody to go online, get all the information with regard to the commitment march, and to go on alsharptonbooks.com and get the information for Reverend Sharpton's upcoming book, Rise Up, Confronting a Country at the Crossroads. And we want to do all of that. So before we go any further, we want to introduce and hear from our crisis director here at National Action Network, the Honorable William Allen. And then we will hear from some of the attorneys. And then muted myself too quick. What we plan to do then with each of the attorneys, we're going to do a short Q&A with them so that they can also tell us some of the things that have been going on and that they have been fighting for throughout this pandemic fray. Some of them are involved in some major actions that you need to know about. And so we will do all of that with the attorneys. But right now, the person that holds down our crisis department here at National Action Network is our crisis director, William Allen, and we're going to hear from him now.
Okay, I'll mute myself. Okay.
I'm muted.
We're just having some very.
If you have two devices on, it will do that. So you have to close out one.
Thank you, First Lady Wilson.
to us here at the National Action Network, and certainly to our leader, our national president, Dr. Sharpton, has been incredible. We are getting hundreds and hundreds of letters and communication.
Is your Zoom mic muted?
Every week.
No, I'm muted.
Mike, you're not muted. So don't be careful. You're not muted. Just letting you know.
We hear you, Mike.
So, well, welcome to NAN Reality Show. You know, what's great about this is that we're not a television program, we're really a public service. And so in a public service, you're going to find backstage activities. So we're giving you blow by blow, backstage, side stage, everything. You get to see us working together. So, like I said, that we've been getting a lot of folks contacting us who've been in crisis, just really looking for direction. And often, sometimes, as I've said before, and Attorney Hardy has confirmed, that we're not just, addressing police relations. People are calling us for a whole host of things. And I always like to go over some of that list in terms of what we're going over. I've heard from here in New York, here in Harlem, need help with the disappearance of her son. In North Carolina, we had an unfortunate family where his son died in prison. He was allegedly on death row for a crime he didn't commit. And authorities said he committed suicide. And so these are some of the cases that we're getting. You've heard from a family in Florida. They were in a car accident. They was wondering why there was not a police report so they can follow up. And many of our cases are always looking for lawyers of great integrity. Not only here in New York, but around the country. And I thank the chapters of our great association. We have over 100 chapters, and they're beginning to put together a list of attorneys in their jurisdiction, in their states. Joel Smichael and Jeff Emden have been doing a great job these last couple of weeks. Most of our crisis cases, these two great attorneys, as well as Tony Urban, his contacts in Brooklyn, has really been doing an extraordinary job to make sure that those who reach out to us get adequate counsel. And I got to tell you, it's not an easy task when you got hundreds of people calling you and you're trying to make sure they're connected to the right folks. It takes a whole lot of planning and a whole lot of skill. We have issues where we've had complaints of people complaining about covert social distancing in various communities across the country. And they want to let us know what they should do. How can we help them? So what we do in many cases, we have 3 steps that we focus on in crisis. The first step is to always ask whether or not there is a legal case. That's the first thing we ask, are you in court? Is there a legal matter? Do you have representation? So when we get that out of the way, our next step is, if you're looking for resources, we always consistently go to your elected officials, whether federal, state, county, municipal. And the reason why that's important, because the elected officials in those different areas, we talk about legislators, they tend to know the resources in that area, and they have updated information. And so those elected officials and their staff have been very helpful to us in terms of even keeping the NAN resources guide up to date, because they're looking at it and giving us modification edits and let us know other resources that might be in the areas. It's been very, very helpful. So those are really the 2 prime steps that we follow in crisis. And then the last step is this whole notion of social capital and relationships and networking. This is an element that is so important to the might be less educated, they become action, figure out what the next steps are. So we normally always make sure that those in Christ, they reach out to us, that they get attached to a chapter mentor, and that those chapter mentors kind of guide them in this whole social relational situation. I got to tell you, over the last couple of months, as we now open up the House of Justice here in Hall 106 Fifth Street, we're now finding that our crisis cases now want to come to the rallies. And some of them are coming to the rallies or NAN event for the first time and say, wow, I wish I'd been coming to this for years, And I said, yeah, maybe if you come to this for years, you probably won't need us to assist you in a crisis because now you already have those social relationships. Lawyers are here every Saturday. Social workers are here every Saturday. Ministers are here every Saturday. Civic leaders are here every Saturday. Church-going people are here every Saturday. Anybody that's doing anything that of any note in our community, they come by here on Saturday, and that becomes our greatest resource, our NAN. So therefore, when we approach crisis, we look at our memberships to assist in that process. And what I've learned in this whole thing is that as we get all these calls from about 40 states throughout the country, one thing I've learned that what NAN does still remains unique. Nobody has a crisis operation like we do. And I'm telling you, that's why hundreds of people call every week. They're looking for guidance. Different organizations now are turning to us that want to be our partners in terms of dealing with some of those issues. And we're getting stronger and stronger.
All right. That's William Allen, our crisis director. And again, that work is so important to what we do here at National Action Network. And, that is how families from George Floyd to Sean Bell and others can always reach National Action Network crisis and get the help that is needed. So we want to bring some of the attorneys in to say hello and give some updates on what's been going on in their world during this pandemic and as we come out of it. And we apologize because I know this is our first time doing this with everyone. And we thought we had a lot of the kinks worked out, but hey, we'll make it all work. So I'm gonna ask Gary Surt, who's with us, to say hello to us. And welcome, Gary. Thanks for being with us. And let's hear what you've been up to during this pandemic, and in particular, in this critical moment in our history. Some of the things that you think people really need to know, any new areas of the law that you've been involved in that people need to know about, and then how have you been doing, and what your world looks like right now.
Okay. Well, first, I'd like to say I hope everyone's well and their families are well. This is certainly a challenging time, and my family, through my father, went through the struggles. Fortunately, he made it through COVID, and I know how difficult that is, particularly because when someone's going through that process, you really can't be there for them as much as you'd like to be. And we're not out of this yet, so even though things are certainly significantly improved, I hope we continue to practice social distancing, continue to use your mask, continue to wash your hands, because this thing, as we've seen, is to be taken seriously. So I hope you continue to remain vigilant and healthy. So a lot of things have changed. Obviously, the way that my firm has been practicing has been turned on its head. We started immediately by doing a lot of remote access, so we've still been able to serve clients. Our phones have been open, they've been ringing, some for cases that we actually handle, and in other cases, because so many offices have been closed, to help them direct clients to resources where they needed help. At one point in time, we were getting a lot of calls, even though my firm has not been doing criminal defense work for years. We did field a lot of calls and try to provide some help and guidance to people, particularly inmates who were dealing with dangerous COVID situations and weren't getting the kind of assistance and didn't know how to go about getting applications for releases. And so we were helping clients in those types of issues. There's also been a significant uptick in the number of people who are looking for help because they've lost their jobs and getting connected to those resources. I mean, everything from at the beginning of the pandemic, the number of unemployment claims that were being filed were at such a high volume that they were assigning certain days based upon the alphabet for you to call in. So we did a lot of assistance in getting people to the right resources. And what I expect is going to be the next thing is I think there's definitely going to be a housing crisis with respect to people being unable to pay their rent given the problems that we're having. At the same time, a major focus for our firm in the interim has been what's been referred to as CVA. My firm represents somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200 victims of childhood sex abuse. And what had happened was on August 14th of last year, the statute of limitations was open so that these victims who have been suffering for years with the impact of being abused as children finally have been able to bring actions against their abusers. And we've been working on those cases, but when the COVID pandemic hit, it really created a lot of barriers. One, because the focus of the news and the focus of everyone's lives were basically circling around survival and housing and employment, that a lot of people are unaware that there's a deadline and it's coming quickly. Right now, the deadline is August 14th of next month. And you might be led to think that that deadline's been extended because the governor did issue an executive order. There is significant concern that that order may not be effective, and the state legislature, in an effort to kind of close that gap because they know so many people have been unable to treat, unable to go and see their lawyers, that the state legislature had passed a bill that would extend the deadline for another year, except that hasn't been signed. And because the legislature isn't in session until next year, this deadline is the 14th of August, and right now, until otherwise, we're treating that as if it's the deadline. So that's been a major part of our focus. And if you or you know anyone who has an issue, I strongly encourage you to reach out to an attorney who handles these cases and let them know, because this is a very rare and unique opportunity. The social psychologists who've been working on this issue have determined that most people don't want to speak about this kind of abuse. They feel ashamed, they feel embarrassed. It's the kind of thing that you don't bring up in social conversation. A lot of people haven't reported to their parents when this abuse is going on. So if you're a victim of this is the time to speak. This is a time to find counsel. This is a time to get redress. Most of the cases, the vast majority of the cases that we're handling against the Catholic Church, but it shows up with schools, it shows up with counselors, it shows up with anyone who had access to children. The predators find their ways to those locations to get access to children. So that's, if there's anything that I'd like to tell you, is let you know that August 14th deadline is upon us.
All right. Thank you, Gary. And, just one of the things that from a public point of view that Gary raises that people need to pay attention to over the next year. Of course, next year, one of the major elections that will be happening next year will be elections for the district attorneys in many of the cities across the country. And so, this whole issue, part of what Gary is talking about, for years and years and years, this was abuse that went unpunished in every aspect of the courts. And so it's critical work, and we're very happy, Gary, that your firm is one of those that are really focusing on this area because there are so many victims out there that need that kind of assistance.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Jeff Emden, how are you? And
All right.
I know that you have been active throughout the pandemic. I also know that you've been active with regard to the movements that are happening across the country. So welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
And say hello to everybody. Let them know who you are and what's going on.
Hi, everyone out there. Hope everyone is well. Yes, Michael, I've been very active with the protest movement, especially here in New York City. I represent right now 17 plaintiffs that were victims, and I say that they were victims because they were peaceful protesters at the Mott Haven protest on June 4th. And they went there and they were retaliated against due to their political views. They were subjected to excessive use of force. They were put into zip ties and held in zip ties for 8 to 10 hours, many of them suffering nerve damage to their wrists. They were put in online, made to stand in lines for 2 hours in the rain. They were held in deplorable conditions. They were handled by police officers who were not wearing masks, put in crowded cells with people that either were not wearing masks or lost their masks during the time that they were beaten up. So I am taking action to protect their rights and to get their criminal cases in which they were charged with either trespassing or curfew violations dismissed. And not only in that particular protest, but in other protests as well. On other fronts, I've also been dealing a lot of issues in family court and ACS courts where there's been orders of protection, where there's been permanent stay away orders. And one of the parents of the child has nowhere to go, and they're out in the street or they're living in conditions that put them at higher risk. And so we've had to go back to the court to get the courts to modify those stay away orders to make them limited order of protections in light of the current circumstances. And then on a nationwide front, I've been working, like Joel's been working, and some of the other attorneys with William Allen in the Crisis Intervention Hotline, talking to people around the country that have been victimized, been disenfranchised, need legal help, don't know where to turn. And sometimes we put them in touch with the local chapters of the National Action Network. Sometimes we put them into contact with local elected politicians or local attorneys, and we try to find the right fit for people that don't know where to turn and have been turned away in the past. So that's what I've been busy doing.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, Attorney Emden. We appreciate you and appreciate you being with us tonight. And of course, I know others will be speaking to a lot of the movements that have been happening, and particularly around the demonstrations. And so I know those that you have been helping in that area. It is amazing when you look at the news and you see things that you thought you would only see in places like the 1930s in Germany or in some of the other countries, you know, where police and unmarked vans come and just swoop people up. I mean, it is unheard of. It's things that we knew in Peru and Argentina, where you had decades of those that disappeared. Now, you know, I'm not trying to stretch the truth, but it is very alarming the way and some of the reports, and of course here in New York City, even the mayor indicated that the way in which a certain arrest was done with a young lady, again, by an unmarked car with officers in plain clothes, that essentially took the woman off the streets, put her in a car. It was circled by other police, and you know, very frightening in a democracy to see that type of action.
I saw that, Michael. It looked like she was being kidnapped. To be honest with you, it looked like a real live kidnapping when it was going down.
Yeah.
And if it can't be just an isolated incident, too many people are coming out with the same story. And luckily, we're living in the age of technology where there are video cameras around, there are body cameras, there are dashboard cameras and street surveillance cameras, and everybody has to be vigilant in protecting their technology, their equipment, safeguarding this evidence before it's deleted.
That's right. Oh, and so again, thank you, Attorney Emden. Now, next up is a world-class author. He has written a great book, part which is informing people exactly of what their rights are. A fabulous attorney, one of the original members of our Legal Night team here at National Action Network, and that's Attorney Royce Russell. Good evening, Royce. Welcome. Royce, are you mute?
There we go. You hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. I will take this time to say thank you for National Action Network for being steadfast in the mainstream in time of struggle. I've been spending my time actually doing a lot of workshops, a lot of online Zoom workshops with a variety of organizations, whether it is Gathering for Justice or the Justice Committee, helping other organizations become more organized, if you can believe it or not. So when they attend protests, they know what to do and what not to do. And as you said, I'll just show it up. The cardiac arrest, a tactical guide on how to handle police stops. Behind me, you'll see a little post. It's not that I'm vain, that I was a bestseller on Amazon. And so they sent that out to, when you're a bestseller author. So I'm sure Reverend Sharpton is going to surpass that, and sky's the limit. But it's important that we continue to do the work that we're doing now. I commend everyone for doing that work. I represent the numbers, I can't even count, of protesters and those that have still been victimized by unlawful arrests and police brutality and the atrocities that we've seen before, pre-George Floyd and after. And I've also realized that we have to do more. We can't just live in the present. So I'm investing in the future. And what do I mean by that? Cardiac arrest is now developed. We have now developed a workbook which help teach those that are in school, ages 1 through 12th grade, on how to manage unlawful police stops, have them do multiple choice, understand definitions of what is a Fifth Amendment, what is a 14th Amendment, what is a Fourth Amendment violation, create scenarios where they have to make a choice as to what they're going to do based upon the paragraph that they read, which is simulated to real life scenarios. At no time in our life do we leave our doors unprepared. We listen to the weatherman. If he says it's raining, we bring an umbrella. When we study to go to college, we prepare for the SATs, law school, LSATs, the bar, we study for it. And when we deal with police brutality and excessive force, at least from an African American perspective, and now we know that it's widespread, you need to be prepared. And so I have delved into the academia and working with a variety of schools, charter schools and public schools, to develop curriculum for which they can now teach those that are in high school, the leaders of the future. So let's just say in Jersey and Franklin Township, we develop a course called Race and Equity and Justice. In Harlem with Equal Academy, we are doing the same. In some schools in the Bronx, we are doing the same. And so this virtual living has been helpful in trying to create those workshops and have a perform or present a presentation in front of masses so they can see the value of education. Because as you educate students now, they become the leaders, and then they feel a lot more better because they're taking their real life experiences that are never talked about in school. See, a lot of times in school, what happens is that you're raised to be a king. You're told that you can be whatever you want in America. But then when you leave the school, you're confronted by police and other obstacles that say that you can't be the best. And so now we're bringing those obstacles into the classroom. educating those to say, you know what, here's the tool so you could tackle that when you leave. So you won't meet a client that says that I didn't get a name, I didn't get a shield number, I wasn't able to record. They'll know. They may be even more educated or as educated as you as to what has taken place, and they just need for you to guide them through the roadmap of the legalese. So that is something that I've been involved in. As Gary has mentioned, a lot of people that are incarcerated are trying to file motions so they can get released early because of COVID. So there's been a major part of my practice where I'm writing those motions, ensuring that those that can get out early can actually have an early release. And that took the eye of a judge in the Southern District, a federal judge, Judge Brennan. And he's known for presiding over Tom Brady matter when he had a contractual matter. And we are now working together to create a 1983 mediation board that deals with 1983 Christ cases for those that are incarcerated and for those that are going pro se, who decided they want to take their claim pro se. And so that has been a whirlwind because he has helped me develop relationship with professors and clinics from Columbia and NYU, and starting to make that a mainstream, because sometimes there are cases where people go pro se when they want to fight for themselves in reference to excessive force or force arrest, or they didn't know where to go to find an attorney, and those people are left standing still. And so who's going to help those people? Who's going to help them manage their process? And so we're developing a mediation, or have developed a mediation board in reference to that. And it's been quite effective in the Eastern District and in the Southern District. And lastly, as Jeff knows this, a long time ago, I used to host a radio show called Speaking Legally. And it was a drive time radio show where we tackled legal issues. And so now, living in the world of virtuality, I have created a Zoom and a podcast called Speaking Legally. We just flip the words around. And you can, if you follow me on Facebook, you can follow me at R2 Esquire 2, or Twitter at R2 ESQ. And what we do is that at that, during that show, what we do, we take legal matters and we infuse it with the cultural matters. We infuse the mental health matters. So we just don't talk about the legal matters. We talk about it from a cultural perspective. We talk about how it is hard to have social distancing when you live in New York City housing, and every apartment is right on top of every apartment. It is hard to maintain, one person to an elevator when in some places no elevators work and you have to take the stairs. How to deal with being harassed by police, and you know that you can't stay in your home because there's too many challenges in your home. So you need to go out for a breath of fresh air. And when you go outside, maybe you forgot your mask, or maybe you're smoking a cigarette, because you just need a moment to get away from a household that might have many, many, many bodies, and you're confronted, and how to manage that. So we are tackling issues that are culturally and legally related, and advising those how to keep on going with their life, and also letting the community know what's going on, what courts are closed, what courts are open, what can you apply for, what can't you apply for, keeping an eye on your criminal matter, making sure that your protest summons doesn't turn into a warrant and then you have to now miss work or someone comes to arrest you. So the show has been quite successful, and we're providing a good to many, and I feel good about that. So it's been quite a busy journey.
All right, thank you. Attorney Russell, I know there's nothing that comes as a surprise from 45. But I know many people heard today that he threw out the suggestion of delaying or postponing the election in November. And of course, on the day that John Lewis is being laid to rest, and the Voting Rights Act is still dead, basically, there are no loss of challenges, if you will, that are going to be confronting us, and certainly continuing to ensure voting rights for those and across the country is going to be very important.
Yes, and so we'll take a subject matter like that, and we make sure that our community knows what it's like to mail in, what is an absentee ballot, to drum that in, to say be mindful, don't wait till the day before, get it in advance, make sure your envelope is correct. Feel free to call someone to make sure that you have it right. And so we tackle those issues because they're coming fast and furious.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go to Attorney Bari Fett, and so as she gets her mind ready, because she knows she's next up, I think another issue that we want to remind everyone that is so significant, and you've begun to see more public announcements on this, is regarding the census. And you know, we're going into the last quarter of that period. The census is enormously important. We must all be counted, and so please make sure that if you've not already responded with regard to your household, please make sure you respond to your household with regard to your census for your household, and make sure you plug in and go online and get all the information that you need with regard to the census. And if you've not sent it in, we are moving into the period where they're going to be doing the door knocking for those that have not responded yet. So, you know, that's going to be very important. So please make sure that you are counted. We should not be counted. And with that, Bari Fett, Royce touched on this some, and also Gary. Attorney Fett is someone that does a lot of work in post-conviction work and violations of constitutional rights with regard to people, particularly those that may have been wrongly convicted. And it's so important right now. And of course, the prison population has been one of the most that have been threatened and exposed by the whole COVID pandemic. And so, Attorney Fett, welcome, and thank you for being with us this evening, and what's been going on.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, everyone. It's so great to see everyone. And it feels so great that this meeting is happening and that we're still doing our thing, despite all of the madness that we're dealing with now. You know, my firm has really tried to maintain our presence, and I think we've done a pretty good job. You know, our office was closed down for a while. We were always available online with our clients, never stopped working. And my law partner and I, Gabe Harvest, we do most of our work in federal court. So we're lucky enough that the courts didn't completely close, and we were able to try to keep cases moving forward. At the same time, unfortunately, it's a great opportunity for our adversaries, like the city, police, to build in a lot of delays. So we have moved the cases forward. We have kept our foot on the gas, but at the same time, it's moving slowly. I'm really proud of my firm, my partner, John Altarakis, Gabe Harvest, and a few of our staff went to Minneapolis to show our support for George Floyd and his family, and they were really down on the ground, showing their presence and their support, and I think our clients really appreciated it. And you know, we've been working with the Reverend Kevin McCall. He's been, you know, working with us a lot just to be in touch with the community and be there for them. We've been answering questions. We've been meeting with people, you know, helping them with just basically what they're going through right now. We're going to be a part of the march tomorrow. Take your knee off our necks. So we're going to be representing there tomorrow, and I feel really proud of it. So we're just not going away. We're here. We're doing our thing. We're trying to keep it going forward 100%. And I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
All right, and thank you. And of course, good luck at the march tomorrow. I mean, and Royce, again, he touched on this a little bit. I mean, that's what we have been saying, and that Reverend Sharpton said at the eulogy for George Floyd, particularly with, you know, Black people in general, Black and brown people more broadly. You know, everyone has always challenged us as to what our capabilities are. And Reverend Sharpton made it very clear that we are capable of doing anything if you just get your need. And with that said, and someone that Reverend Sharpton spoke about recently, because it was the last time that Reverend Sharpton was able to be with John Lewis before he got sick, and of course before he passed. And that's when John Lewis came to New York City and to the Southern District of New York and participated in a program by the Southern District Federal Bar Association, along with the former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District, Barrar, and Reverend Sharpton, and the most honorable and beloved John Lewis, Attorney Wiley Stecklow. Thank you for that program, and welcome to Legal Night. What's been going on? And the most honorable and beloved John
Great to be here. I'm really happy that we got the program going. I just want to alert that some of us had a very difficult time logging on, and we had the right password in the right meeting, so we might have less numbers of community members here that have tried to get on, just couldn't. We continued to try. I tried for about 25 minutes, typing the same information in, and eventually got connected. So just keep that in mind, that we might have larger numbers trying to join us and just aren't able to do it.
Yeah, well, you see, that's what happens when Legal Night is with the attorney that still has the flip phone. And I promise you, I will upgrade so that we can handle this problem in the future. I now know, you know, that can't just use the flip phone to manage this.
All right, as long as William Allen's not using the flip phone, I'm feeling pretty confident.
All right.
I want to thank, you know, everybody for being here. I want to thank Brother Michael for being here, and William Allen and Patrice Perry for, you know, staying the course with NAN and keeping you guys going during this time. That obviously it's very important now, for the last 4 months, and even now, that we have community organizations like National Action Network for the community to help with things, not just when there's police issues, but when there's food issues and there's housing issues. And I know that Michael and all of you guys and Reverend Sharpton have been out every week feeding people and giving out food. And I just want to applaud you guys for being here, for giving us the opportunity to share legal issues, but for being here overall, beyond legal issues, for the community. It's really just, it's not surprising, but it's worth acknowledging. So I want to thank you guys for that. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's great to see all my brother and sister lawyers on the panel who I've shared so many Thursdays with over the years. I want to thank you guys for being here as well. And I want to thank National Action Network for giving us this opportunity. I do feel really, I feel like it's really special that I was able to organize an event for the Honorable John Lewis just last September here in New York City, and to bring him here so he can meet with colleagues, he can meet with lawyers and judges and community members who would come down to the courthouse back in September and got to meet him. And I'm really thrilled that Reverend Sharpton was able to have the time that night to come and make some great words about the impact that John Lewis had. Obviously, right now we're hearing a lot of people speaking out about John Lewis and about the impact he's had on our world, our society, about freedoms and about, you know, voting and just across the political spectrum, all the different issues he touched on. And I feel really privileged that I was able to honor him while he was still here and say these things to him, and to bring people like Reverend Sharpton and Jamani Williams, our public advocate, and Preet Bharara, the prior Southern District U.S. Attorney, and bring them to the courthouse to say these things to him, to let him know how much he was appreciated while he was still here. And obviously that's something that as long as things go on, no matter what we face, this is something we'll always have and we can always share. And I thank you, Michael and Reverend Sharpton, for acknowledging that during the rally a couple weeks ago. I've been, as the other lawyers here, I've been extremely busy with the protest movement that began after the unfortunate and obviously murder of George Floyd. It's been incredibly busy to be a civil rights lawyer. This is what we as civil rights lawyers live for, right? We live for the moments where we can provide help to people. We can provide information, we can provide guidance, and even legal assistance when they're in the streets protesting. And to see the amount of change that's come to this society, this country, in the last 3 months, things that we've been working on for years, for decades, have now come in and seem to be changing like that. But what we realize, it's not like that. It's over the course of time. When you have lawyers litigating issues and judges hearing issues and people in the streets arguing and protesting about issues and legislators debating about issues, at some point there's a wellstrom of all these things. And that's where we are right now. So what have we seen? We've seen in New York State the repeal of Civil Rights Law 50A, right? That used to protect disciplinary records of the NYPD and other municipal employees. Now the legislative has been pushed for years to overcome that, to take that away. And it took the George Floyd protests for that to happen. And so that's now been legislatively removed. And there's no longer that restriction. Now there's some litigation ongoing, and I'm debating, I'm working a little bit connected to that. Not sure we're going to file an amicus brief on behalf of the New York Civil Liberties Union, because within days of the repeal of 50A, they put in a FOIL request and got all the CCRB records for the NYPD for the last decade and a half. They got thousands upon thousands of records. And when the city was sued by the unions to not release that, they didn't sue the New York Civil Liberties Union. So the question is, does the court have jurisdiction over what the New York Civil Liberties Union has? And that's an issue that's being litigated right now. So it's pretty interesting to be involved with that. We've also been involved in taking that same 50A law and going to the courts in the Southern District that has an automatic protective order for any time disciplinary records are produced in discovery, in litigation. They're protected. You're not allowed as a lawyer. I can't share them. Well, now I have the New York Times, the New York State Attorney General, and other people calling me saying, what records do you have? What can we look at? And we'd like to share them. So we're telling the court, you've got to now change your rule. The law's changed, and the rule that you had was based on the law. Since the law has changed, you now need to change your rule. And it's a specific rule just for the Southern District of New York. And it's part of what's called Local Rule 8310. And so along with a bunch of civil rights lawyers, we penned a letter and we sent it off to the chief judge and the chief of the rules committee of the Southern District of New York. And we're hoping to see some change coming that way. I'm also very honored to be part of what's called the National Lawyers Guild Floyd Affirmative Litigation Task Force. And it's a compendium of lawyers trying to organize together so that when we start having civil rights law.
Okay. Wiley, I think you, I don't know if we lost you or you're frozen up a little bit, but hopefully we'll get you back. I was...
Right back?
There you go, you're back.
Cool. So, there's a various areas of the current civil rights issues that are going on in the streets of New York that the civil rights lawyers, most of the guys on the people on this panel, as well as others, are working on. And I'm really excited and privileged to be a part of that. And I'll give one plug. I'm excited to read Royce's book. Just yesterday, NBC New York came out with a story about a case I've been litigating for 5 years. And it's a case about protest policing. And it's very relevant to what's going on in the streets today because the city of New York has known about this. And I've been trying to show them their training is wrong. It's deficient. It needs to be updated. The police do not have the tools. They're not trained properly on how to police protests. And we have a lawsuit that's been going on since Occupy Wall Street, over 5 years. And just yesterday, Chris Glorioso of NBC New York's I-Team did a story on it. So if people see the chat, I'm going to share in the chat now a link to that story that I think is, it's interesting, and I'm pretty proud that even now we're able to connect what happened then to what's going on now and trying to show the mayor and others change needs to happen. And change needs to happen in many different ways. One of them is the training the police have. We're not going to see a change on how they're policing on the street if they're not changing how they're trained in the academy and all the refresher courses that they receive over the years. So happy to be here, thrilled. Hopefully we can continue doing this monthly. I really appreciate everyone's time and effort. Michael and William and Patrice, thank you for having me here.
All right. Well, thank you, Attorney Stecklow, so much now. We're going to go to our next attorney. We have two more attorneys that are going to speak. Attorney Schmelkin will be the last of the two, and there's a reason for that. So we're going to be going to Attorney Giordano next. But before we go to Attorney Giordano, just want to remind everybody of several things. One is we see that you're sending your questions in, and we're going to be getting to your questions, and we'll be, I guess, again, I'll tell my flip phone so that maybe we can have you ask your questions directly, although we do have them in the chat room, so I'll read them, the questions if I have to. So that's number one. Number two, just with regard to legal night in general, don't forget that this legal night, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to do it virally, where everyone could participate and we could bring the attorneys and you back in, because this, after tonight, you know, we always take the break in August for legal night, so we will not be here on the last Thursday of August, but we will be back in September, and hopefully the COVID situation might radically change by then. But no matter what, we will be here one way or the other in September and October, and then we'll be breaking again for the rest of the year. And so with that, let me bring Attorney Giordano in. How are you? I think you're muted. There you go.
I have to leave this room. I'm sorry. This is one of those situations, Michael and everyone, where I have an okay top on, but I have a pair of shorts on, so you'll have to. It's great to see everybody, and it's really been a difficult time, and I'm very happy to see everybody, and Michael and the NAN group. Thank you, Patrice and William, for helping out and putting all this together. My office is here in Harlem, and I've had to kind of go back really different areas of law that I don't normally practice because of in the community here. We just had a lot of people who had various issues that came up, and I'm sure a lot of the attorneys have experienced that as well. Can everybody hear me? It says I have an unstable internet connection. Okay. So, you know, it's great if we can pool our resources further. You know, we've gotten a lot of people who have had problems in their jobs and in their employment. And it seems in some of the instances, there have been rather opportunistic efforts by employers to, you know, dismiss people who I think otherwise they wouldn't be able to for either age-related issues, race or ethnicity issues, or even disability issues. I was so surprised today, for instance, there's a school, I won't mention it, in Brooklyn, that they are, with certainty, the director is saying opening in September, but they are not providing any kind of accommodation for people who are in vulnerable categories for the virus, people in their 60s, people who have made pre-existing health conditions. And the director actually told them that if they don't present physically when they open in September, that they're going to lose their job. And I said maybe you should try to get that in writing because I think that would be very problematic to do that. But so it's been kind of a strange time. I'm happy to be here with everybody, and if we can continue to do this, I think it'll be wonderful.
All right, thank you, Attorney Giordano. All right, so Attorney Joe Schmelkin, and one of the reasons why I'm bringing up Joe last is because Joe really has been one of the real foundations of Legal Night. He has been unequivocally dedicated. He helped produce so much of the literature for Legal Night. He is always available to fill in when necessary, and he's been a real partner in making this whole monthly program truly successful. And he is unselfish, if you will, in so many ways with regard to his contributions. And I just really wanted to publicly recognize that, Joel. Thank you. And so, Attorney Schmelkin, what's been happening?
Okay, Mike, thank you very much. And a special welcome back to all of our NAN family members. And we're hoping everyone's staying well. Look, we've heard what we've got to do. We're going to get through this. It's rough, but we'll deal with it. I'm sure we're all going to practice our social distancing and wearing our masks and things of that nature. And to really our audience, people that joined in, I really want to give special thanks, Mike, to you, William, Patrice, Arthur, the entire NAN support staff, because those of you that have been to some of the Legal Nights know that the last time we had one was back in February. So we're talking about 5 months, 5.5 months, where we really haven't had this give and take forum as we're so used to doing the last Thursday of every month. And, for Mike and the staff members, really a special thanks for keeping this afloat over the last 5 months. It's been rough, but you and Nan and Reverend Sharpton, the whole organization really have been dedicated really to protecting those who have been pushed aside, underrepresented, really, and discriminated against. And that's really, really a good thing. And I'm proud really to be a part of and to work along with such a great civil rights group. And I know I speak for my colleagues, the other attorneys on this group, because I know they feel the same way as well. Look, what we've been doing over the past 3-4 months is really what everyone else has been doing. We get up in the morning, we have a commitment to help those who are less fortunate, that can't help themselves. We've just changed courses a bit. My office has been back in running officially the day that the mayor, the governor, said that New York City in stage 2 could come back, and that was June 22nd. But before that, from March 22nd till June 22nd, we weren't on vacation. We were doing work. We were working remotely. We were doing things just a little differently. I remember hearing the announcement on that Friday beforehand when Governor Cuomo said that, 8 o'clock Sunday night, that's it. The city basically is closing. Businesses are closing to a certain extent. What I did that weekend was I got into the office, and those that know me know that I'm a low-tech, old-school, old-fashioned type of a guy. So I got in the office, and I loaded up my car with God knows how many files, and people are saying to me, hey, Joel, come on, what do you need to do that? You got everything on computer. You got everything on the internet. You've got everything lined up with the courts. You don't need that. But, those that know me know that, what do I need? I need a pen. I need a pad. I need a file, I need a phone, and I need a claims adjuster, and I'll get a client money. That's it. I'm a low-tech type of a guy. So I brought plenty of files home. But we worked, again, remotely. We were in contact with everyone. We made sure, really, that we didn't forget our clients. We called them up. We let them know that we're here for them. We acted as if more than just a lawyer. We were a counselor to them. We want to find out how you're doing, how you're feeling. Hopefully your family is okay. and just little chit chats, things like that. You know, it's really, the client has the right to know that your lawyer there is behind you. Your lawyer is more than your lawyer. Your lawyer is your friend. Your lawyer is there really to help you any which way. We contacted many defense attorneys. I have represent plaintiffs, those of you know that. I represent those who've been injured. We've contacted many claims representatives, because even though the courts were closed to a certain extent, meaning that we didn't have the face-to-face conferences, the give and take, it wasn't, you know, that we were doing work like that. But, you know, where there's a will, there's a way. If you have a case and you know who your adversary is, you get on the phone, you talk to them, you try to work things out. And I think that the courts and the judges really are going to be appreciative once we do get back to court, when they speak to the attorneys and realize that, you know, over these past 3-4 months, it wasn't just a boondoggle where everybody just took an excuse for doing nothing, but we worked and we put together things. Specifically, you know, I found that, for example, I do work representing construction workers getting hurt on construction sites. Now, construction workers were one of the categories that were a type of a group, what's the word I'm looking for? The special, essential workers, so to speak, especially when you have buildings which need to be renovated and fixed up and repaired. But a lot of the smaller little municipalities, the little villages, had rules that said that there can only be one worker on a job. Well, that's ridiculous. You need at least 2-3 people to spot somebody on a ladder. They were giving rise to accidents which came about. We had those types of cases. They didn't go away. People always got involved in car accidents. They didn't go away. Landlords claiming that they didn't have the rent from the tenants use that as an excuse to not keep buildings up to shape. People got injured falling in lobbies, tripping on sidewalks because they weren't privately maintained. There have been people that have been hurt in nursing homes and medical malpractice cases. There's been a problem with that. Nursing homes had a certain type of immunity. They got a chance to slip away and things of that nature because of the COVID situation. They got to use this. And unfortunately, there have been a lot of people that have been injured, a lot of people that really right now, but because of the fact that there are certain immunities and special laws and to nursing homes, that these things have slipped over. Police hassling groups of young kids, claiming they're walking too close to each other. Police injuring people during protests. Like that. Look, those cases didn't go. Bottom line is, you know, the people's rights just don't stop because of the fact that we have that most attorneys have adjusted to it. We've changed our course, but the goal has been the same: to protect those who can't protect themselves, to help those. And look, you know, as they say, this too shall pass. We're going to get through this. I really thank NAN and all the great work that you've done for the community. And again, proud to be part of the organization, part of the group. And hopefully, Mike, as you say, who knows what's going to happen in September. September 24th is the last Thursday in September. Maybe things will turn around. And but ultimately, we will get through this. And thanks a lot. Thanks for having me this evening.
Thank you, Joel. And thank all of the attorneys who presented. Let's give them a hand because they're so valuable to this program. And again, we truly appreciate you and thank you. So we have some questions. Now I'm going to ask the technical people, if I call out a name, can we unmute that person and let them ask their own question? All right, well, we'll try it. And if it doesn't work exactly right, then I have the questions in front of me. But I'll start with Donna Johnson. And she has a question for all of the attorneys. Donna, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. You want to ask your question? Well, first, thank you for being with us.
I was asking about what, you know, if your lawyers can tell me anything about creating a living trust for my mom, who, you know, she's getting older, and we wanted to know, she wants to protect her assets. and she wants to pass them on. So that's why I was asking about anyone who could give me any advice about creating a living trust.
All right, Donna, thank you for that question. Anyone want to give her some basics?
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick. What you want to first do is do a financial breakdown to see if there's any health issues that your loved one may incur in the future where they may be subjected to some type of government medical assistance. Because if that is the case, then the assets that person now has can be used to pay for that health care. And the law has been changing on that a little bit. There's certain thresholds economically that you can't surpass before the government comes in and starts to seize the assets. So if there is any housing, any investments, things of that nature, you might want to start to look at how you can transfer that to other parties or put it in a trust, because there's a 5-year window for which you can do those things before, or what we call a 5-year look back, right? Before the state and the government looks back to see whether or not you've intentionally transferred property or assets to have the benefit of having the government take care of your loved one medical needs. And you also need to look at whether or not there is someone that may be disabled or someone that suffers from mental challenges that might be living with that person, because if they live with that person, then that asset is free from being repossessed, and therefore you can keep it. But if you want to talk offline, we could talk more about that. There is an attorney that I work with that does that type of work, and I've been working with her. Given COVID, you find out that a lot of people are trying to get their wills done, and it's been extremely difficult to work with a hospital and work with doctors that are trying to verify by way of Zoom that the person is actually coherent and is willing to and has the ability to assess what's going on when you're trying to draft a will. So we could take that offline, and I'm sure I'll be able to help her.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, our next question is from Galaxy 520. You're unmuted. All right, Galaxy, you want to ask your question? Yeah, Galaxy, we see you. You want to ask your question? All right, well, I'll read it then, and maybe we'll have some of the lawyers answer it. Oh, there you go.
So, sorry, I was muted.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I first wanted to thank each and every one of you for the brilliant presentation here and helping folks just get to understand the movement that's out there, and also reaching out to hard-hit areas. I live in Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center. Recently, we had incidents of George Floyd, so we are just recovering from that. I recently have a case. One of the things that I'm looking for is obviously a referral lawyer in the area here. And just to give a synopsis of the incident that happened, I saw a black guy being pursued in one of the parking lots, and I pulled my phone out. In retaliation, this police officer ended up pursuing me and stopping me in traffic. And then my questioning of him was why I got stopped. And as a result of that, I am going to court to defend 3 of those citations. One would be hand-free device, using a device, because they said I was recording them. And the second one was obstruction to legal processing. And the third charge was, they said, a little object hanging in my car. Again, part of what we are dealing with in some of these communities is the excessive use of police force on innocent citizens, and also please criminalizing people for our reaction to the situations that we are dealing with, which is totally unacceptable. We are tax-paying citizens, and we are law-abiding. And part of the question that I have is if there is any lawyer referral, and then the second part is also what are the avenues, and also whether this group is engaging the police stations in Minnesota, for example, and then also the local government officials. And I do thank each and every one of you, and to the one that referred me tonight. Thank you.
All right. Well, William Allen, you want to address first the issue of referral? Sure.
For a second, I was thinking Hayward Burns was sitting next to me. Wake up in class. We have a great referral system, and if you call out 877-626-651, we'll briefly take down your details, and
Gotta be unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. If you call 877-626-4651, that's our 800 number. 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, we'll take down your information, but keep it very brief in terms of the action that you're seeking. We'll assist you in finding counsel for you in the Midwest. And quite frankly, over the last, since the Sean Reed murder in Indianapolis, Indiana, we've had a plethora of young attorneys and folks now reaching out to us from the Midwest. In fact, a lot of the contacts we're getting is actually coming out of Ohio. So if I cannot find someone that actually have an office in your state, there might be some counsel in Ohio that might also be able to practice in Minnesota. So we just got to look at it, we just got to explore it. And Joe Smelkin, he's always been like a superhero for me. He's able to also find attorneys in other states throughout the country. And Jeff Emden, too, has been helping with this. So we'll figure it out, and we want to work with you. And certainly, and also we want to say, we have NAN chapters in your area, if not directly in your state, and adjoining states. It's so important to connect to them, because often sometimes they also have these referrals and resources.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in on that?
Michael, I would also add in that if he wants, he can reach out to the National Lawyers Guild in Minnesota. That's a very strong chapter there, and that they are providing free criminal defense help for anybody who's been arrested during the protest, and could also help him find civil rights lawyers there. So the National Lawyers Guild is doing that in many cities, and Minnesota is particularly strong.
And if I can, he can also check into the National Black Bar Association. They have a very big chapter out in Minnesota. And you have plenty of attorneys there that practice in a variety of areas. So there's the National Black Bar Association. It's a national chapter. I mean, it's a national organization, and you can find attorneys there as well.
All right. All right. So the next question up.
I was wondering how I can get the contact information by chance, and thank you guys for helping answer that.
Okay. Patrice will put the contact information in chat, so you can, you'll be able to see it.
And thank you guys again. Thank you.
All right. So I think we have a question from George Nelson. Gregory Nelson, I'm sorry.
Hi. Yeah, my question is concerned about the city ordinances here, because there are no signs posted about some of what I feel is illegal, where kids and grown-ups are riding bicycles on the sidewalk rollerblading, and I mean these bicycles that they ride are motorized. I'm a senior. I was almost run over on 116th Street by a guy speeding down the sidewalk like he was on the highway. And they're not, like I mentioned in my question, there's city ordinances where they have signs posted giving you what the order is about that. But when you speak to the police about it, they say, there's nothing we can do. And these guys, not only on the sidewalk, but in the street, we all see it. They're doing wheelies. They're coming down the street like 20 and 30 of them at a time. You're afraid to even cross the street. So, my concern is, why can't they post signs? They used to put signs around, no littering, all about alternate side of street parking. Put up something about all of those violations and concerns, because they're dangerous, where people can get killed just walking on the sidewalk.
All right. Anybody want to make a comment on that? Any of the attorneys?
Well, the one thing I can say is this, is that unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are breaking rules that endanger you. And bicycles are not a joke. People do get killed when they're hit by bicycles. But the process that I think you need to go to is to complain to the Department of Transportation. DOT is responsible for determining where they should be placing signs. So by making a complaint to them, their concern is that if they get enough complaints and they fail to respond, there could be a road design or road posting liability to the city for not acting. That's probably the first step, though, is to make complaints to Department of Transportation and see if they may address it, maybe with better signage or enforcement. You can also go to the community board meetings, which I expect at this time they're not happening, to complain about the problem. And usually there's a representative of the police department, the precinct for that local area, and they can make it a priority if this is something that's endangering people. I know it's not a perfect solution, but I think it's the first place to start.
All right. Anyone else commenting, or I'll go to the next question? All right, I think the next question coming up was a question from Nana to everyone. I apologize if I didn't say the name right.
I'm sorry, I think you skipped me.
Right.
You tell him I said that.
Go ahead.
Millie, don't you want to get me on free something, all right? So that's wrong. I've been straight my entire career. I live in a little house in Garfield Ridge, and my son goes to junior.
Oh, you can.
Think that if I came into $1 million, I could sit on it 15 years and live like a shows. I could give a good God about the money.
Are you on? Is she on mute or? Okay. You can talk.
You're number 5. He alibis out. That means somebody.
Is this for me?
Yep.
Oh, hi. My name is Lisa Roberson, and I'm just trying to start a women's entity. And right now I have a live website, which is deals with journal blogging for the women that's going through all the obstacles, frustrations, and despairs in life through this COVID. So I'm looking for some type of consultant. I was introduced by Miss Nola when I was standing out there on Lenox Avenue, and I was giving away free women clothes. And it seems like women is the hardest thing to get an audience of, because they're quick to turn their nose up at each other, and that's what I'm trying to bring is unity in the community. So I understand all this Black Lives stuff and everything, but as of right now, us women, we need to get together and stick together. And we're going through loss of jobs, loss of hardships, mothers that are not able to take care of their kids, or the kids are home, they're going crazy, things of a sort. So I'm looking to do something for the community. And if anybody hear me, or if everyone hear me, my website is comeletstalkaboutit.org, no spaces. And I'm just looking for legal advice to incorporate it as a non-for-profit.
Okay. All right. So what?
I don't know this in the trailer more than the movie got me thinking. Okay, so this is your fault.
All right. So part of her question, I guess, is also looking for someone to help her incorporate. And what I'm going to suggest, I don't know if one of the attorneys wants to volunteer, and we can have her reach you. But I think what I'm going to do with that, there are a number of attorneys that probably help you and explain to you how the incorporation process happens. So I think what I'm going to do is we have you in the chat, and so I'm going to have William make sure that he follows up with you. He can go through more of what you're trying to do, and then match you with one of the attorneys that also talk you through the incorporation process. And in addition to that, when you speak with William Allen, I'd like to also hook you up with our coordinator here at National Action Network, Sabrina Jeff, because she could probably plug you in to some program doing National Action Network that's up your alley. And between that and any legal referrals we give you, hopefully that will get you where you want. All right. So the next question up is from First Lady Wilson.
Yes, thank you. I mentioned that I noticed that on some of the videos showing the police using excessive force, that the police is now telling the victims to give them their cell phones when they're caught on camera. So I was asking, is there a law that states that we have to give them our phones? And if not, what's the amendment that we can stand on as a citizen?
All right. I think there are several people that could speak to that. Who wants to go first?
I'll take a crack at it.
All right, Attorney Emden.
So the Fourth Amendment governs illegal searches and seizures, and there has been a lot of lawsuits lately where the police are confiscating video cameras or cell phone cameras of innocent bystanders that are videotaping police action, including organizations like the Cop Watch Patrol Unit, etc. Oftentimes it happens with family and friends that are nearby. And when they do that, they often justify their actions by charging these individuals that are videotaping with crimes such as obstructing governmental administration, resisting arrest, or disorderly conduct. So we see these patterns all the time. Then what they do is they often take the phones, they try to open the phone and access your data, whether it's for the contact information, for phones, or for photographs, or to delete the videos. So there are apps out there, and I don't remember the names offhand, that you can download to your phone so that when you videotape or you take pictures, it basically goes to a cloud live. So it preserves whatever content you have in your phone. There's probably nothing you can do to stop them from taking it, but you can sue them for the illegal search and seizure and retention of your phone. And if they are violating your First Amendment rights to associate, be present, to record, to comment. So this is a growing problem in the community and in the courts, and it is being addressed as we speak.
And let me just add to that. One of the things that I do in the workshop, and one of the things we talk about, is it's time for us to have a plan. There's no more just walking out the door and things just happen out of the clear blue sky. One of the things that Jeff has spoken to is that the organization called Cop Watch, they do what they call diversion. Someone else will be talking while someone else is taking the video, and they'll use their application where the video is sent somewhere else. So what I would say to you as a plan is, one, if you know you're attending a protest, you need to go with a person, and you need to have a plan that either both of you guys are going to video, or one is going to do some talking trying to prevent the officer intervening from being abusive while the other one videos. But what I would also say is that I've seen 1,001 times, and I don't know if this is cultural, but it seems like it is that we don't have to announce that we're videoing. There's no law that says that you have to tell a police officer, now I'm going to video you. I don't know why we announce it. Maybe it's that we think that that's going to stop them from doing what they're going to do. I would tell you that that's not going to happen. They're going to do what they're going to do, and then they're going to turn their focus to you. So if you video, you can video in silence without giving them notice. And on top of that, I would say when you video, you should stay silent, because the attorney that wants that videotape to help them vindicate and get justice for the person that's been victimized wants to hear what's going on and does not want to hear your play-by-play or your shock or any other voice but what is going on. Now, I do understand in real time, you may not be able to help yourself, but to say a couple of words, like don't stop, don't do that, he didn't do anything. But if we're forward thinking and we're planning and we are studying for that test like I talked about before, then we know this is how we should act. We should not announce, so therefore they won't turn the focus to you, and you should not speak over the video that you are trying to capture, and make sure that you stay a distance away. All those things will be helpful.
And Michael, let me add one more thing to what both Brother Jeffrey and Brother Royce had said, because I think what they both said was very helpful, very important. And Royce's comment to not speak over the video, don't commentate the video, don't be play-by-play, extremely important. Having litigated a ton of cases with video involved, the ones that work are the ones where you're seeing the action, you're not hearing what people think is happening. But one thing we're looking at in the NLG Floyd Affirmative Litigation Task Force is when people's phones are taken from them during arrest, are the police trying to capture all their information? Are they getting all their data? And so one thing that's very important, if you think that's happening, you'll usually get a voucher for your property when you're arrested. It's either gonna be vouchered for safekeeping or as evidence. If it's for evidence, you're not gonna get it back so soon. Safekeeping, they'll give it back to you as soon as they release you. Don't go grab the phone quite yet. Get a lawyer involved. If you think there's a chance that they've taken your data, we need to establish a chain of custody. So we need to take the phone from the police in a certain manner so that if we decide there's something wrong, we have a chain of custody. We can show it didn't happen after the police gave the phone back.
That's very true. It's very true. And one other thing is that when a lot of times when people get arrested and they ask if you want to make a phone call, if you're lucky enough and that they do that, a lot of people don't know phone numbers by heart. So then they'll ask you permission, can we use your cell phone so that we can retrieve the number for you? Don't do that. You are relying on them to be honest and only look in your phone for that particular name and that particular phone number, when in reality it gives them carte blanche to look at your phone. So if you're going to a protest, go with a name and a phone number written down in your pocket, somebody that you can contact. Never give the police access or permission to access your phone.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for those responses. And again, for all of you that are asking questions, William Allen, our crisis director's email is in the chat room so that you can always follow up. And in addition to following up with William on any of it, you can get the information in order to contact any of the attorneys that are on. Our next question is from Deborah. And if she's still with us, Deborah, you want to ask your question?
Yes, good evening. And thank you for taking my question. My question was this. Would one of the attorneys speak to the types of documents one should have completed and handy before a person becomes incapacitated in general, but particularly in this season of COVID-19? And I'd like to thank Attorney Emdem. He actually typed me a response to that, so I'd like to thank him for that. My concern is this. I live in Los Angeles, but my mother lives in New York. And I was actually scheduled to be in New York on March 23rd to try to handle some of the items. And of course, COVID took place, like the lockdown here, as well as New York took place the week prior. So I'm really a little concerned right now because with the cases growing now in California, that I won't be able to travel to New York to try to handle this business. There's another part I'd like to piggyback on this is that we lost a relative to COVID, and she was on a trust and to inherit part of a property was shared with someone. She, as a result of her demise, I think her daughter assumes that she will take her mother's place. I have a question to that to say, is that the natural progression, or would that trust have to be revised to include her if the person who was completed the trust would like to do so?
I think you have to look towards the trust, what's written in the trust itself, to determine what happens when one of the beneficiaries of the trust dies before the expiration of the trust. Not every single time does it go to that person's heirs or children. Like sometimes that person's share could go to the other remaining people within the trust, or can revert back to the estate. So you have to look at the document itself.
Thank you so much for answering the question. Attorney Emdin, if you can text me privately your email, then I'll get in touch with you.
Okay.
Okay. Again, thank you, Attorney Harding, everyone, and have a good evening.
Hey, listen, you know, I have to chime in here because I think this is our first legal night that we can honestly say we had presence all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, Minneapolis, and we probably got somebody down there in Florida or Georgia. So this is a first.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful.
That's a real success. So we had Stephanie Stokes, is it? I believe she had your hand up, and if she's still on, can we unmute her and get her question? Okay, Stephanie?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to get my camera on. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
This is awesome. I feel like a little kid right now, quite honestly. And I want to give a big thank you to the Richmond chapter. Fantastic. Okay, I'll try to make this as brief as possible. I do have an organization, a nonprofit, as Deborah spoke about, that I would like to create. But I want to do it in such a way that at least 65% or more of anything that comes in stays within that entity, so that so many of these nonprofits, and I'm not bashing them all, the money goes to staff and not truly to the people who need the help. I'm not down with that. So that's one. I want some legal advice as far as establishing that as a nonprofit, and also any recommendations on putting that presentation together so that anyone who does want to contribute sees exactly what it's going to be. So the second thing is CPS abuse of power. I see so many people, and not, I'm gonna hurt somebody. I see so many people get their children snatched away from them, and there is no family reunification. It's one of the most criminal things you can do to any human being, and it really needs to stop. Let me see here. William Barr, I'm watching the hearings, and someone posed a question to him about surveillance of any device, your search history, your cell phone, everything else. And in January of 2014, Discovery Magazine had an article in there for the preceding year, and this was during the Bush era, about the NSA and other entities and the fact that we have no privacy at all. And if you think otherwise, then that's on you. So that's an interesting question. I really would like to know what Mr. Barr thinks. Well, he's drunk on power, so let me just not even go there. And Mr. Nelson, thank you, because I live in a college town, 5 colleges in the area, motorized scooters, bicycles, and it's insane that these, have fun, but my goodness. Recording without talking, I think everybody should have a body cam, period. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Here's what I'm going to do, Stephanie. We're also going to get a question from Nicole, because I think that'll be our last question, and then we'll have the attorneys answer both your and whatever Nicole does, and then we'll wrap up. I can't believe we're almost at that point. Nicole, you want to ask your question?
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's actually not my question. It's my husband's question. So I'm going to have him ask the question right now. It's in regards to getting unemployment insurance.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Samuel. So my question is, I applied for pandemic unemployment insurance in New York State. I lost my job in April due to the COVID, and my unemployment insurance was denied. And then I reapplied the second time again, and what they said to me was I had a case open in Georgia. Before moving down to New York, I had worked in Georgia, and I also tried to reach Georgia, but I can't get through to them on the phone. All their phone lines are kind of down. Nobody's taking any calls. And now I'm kind of in a, confused what to do next. I got a letter from New York State saying they received the second application. And it's been more than 3 weeks now. Nobody has called, nobody has said anything. And when I call them, it's difficult to get through to them. So what can I do in a situation like this?
Okay. All right. Anyone want to take on these last 2 sets of questions? Or parts of them?
I can't answer his question directly, but I know Michael, Attorney Ed Petrado will be back in the country on Monday or Tuesday. So maybe that would be a referral that they can maybe talk that through.
Okay, that's with regard to the unemployment question.
Right, in regards to the unemployment, correct.
Right.
What is that name again?
Yeah. You want to put that name in the chat room, Royce?
Okay, I will do that right now. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Joel, anything you want to add to that?
I'm sorry?
I said, is there anything you want to add to the unemployment question?
The only thing I would say is that you're going to ask for a hearing. You may get a hearing, and you can go in with some evidence in terms of why you think you may have, be entitled to your unemployment. Your employer may have filled out some documents stating, for example, that they may have a basis. I'm not saying that that's the situation, but sometimes an employer will contest, your unemployment. They may claim that they had to fire you for cause. Again, I'm not saying that happened here, but those are certain issues that employers every now and then may do, and these are things that can be worked out at a hearing.
Okay.
Right. And of course, they would have to notify you that that's a reason.
That's right.
I think that 2 things. One, of course, if you don't hear from New York, you should contact the House of Justice. Our crisis director, William Allen, can literally find and walk you through the unemployment process here in New York, and we can even reach into the office if we need to get to an administrator to help answer any of those questions. If you were denied, you do have an absolute right to appeal an initial unemployment decision, but you need to make sure that you complete whatever the necessary paperwork is for that. And William Allen is in the chat room, his information, so you can follow up there. Anyone else want to speak to the unemployment issue? All right.
I had that situation with a client who moved. I thought I understood your question to be kind of a hot potato type situation where, you know, there are two states involved. And I had that situation with a client who was in Illinois, was terminated from his job in Illinois, then moved to Texas. And he was applying for unemployment in Texas, and they said he had to apply in Illinois. And Illinois told him that he wasn't residing there any longer, so he couldn't apply there. So it can be resolved. It requires a little bit of perseverance, and you're going to get a little bit of a runaround. And it sounds like one of the attorneys has a name and number for you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can tell you the experience that I had with the gentleman who ended up in Texas. Ultimately, we were able to get his unemployment for him, but it's kind of state specific, and, you know, you have to penetrate the maze. But you have a right to your unemployment. You can't be denied in both jurisdictions.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir.
We appreciate all of the advice.
Yeah, so I would do that, and you have the name that Royce put in, but also make sure you contact William Allen as it relates, to both in Georgia. But we also have our Atlanta office. We can work through that office also. So make sure you also follow up right here at the House of Justice with William Allen. Now, I know one of the lawyers wants to take on William Barr and Stephanie's claims. Let's take 2 minutes. That's a great way to end this evening. Some people may have watched the Barr testimony. Absolutely incredible. So one of you champions want to take that on? All right,
All right, I'll take a shot. Am I unmuted?
Yeah, no, you're good, Wally. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you guys turn that down, please? So yeah, I'll say that we're living in unprecedented times for our country and the freedoms that we're used to. And to have a man like William Barr be the head of Department of Justice and to be able to go actually to the Senate and testify this way really says a lot about the times and the places we're living in right now. So do I believe he has the right, the government has the right for monitoring our devices? No, they do not. The case law is very clear that there is no right by the government without some sort of reasonable suspicion, probable cause, different levels, in order to go in and actually monitor our devices, to take our phones and grab data off of it, or to use certain machinery that will ping and pretend to be cell phones, cell towers, so that your cell phones will communicate with them. The government has been told time and time again they need warrants to do these things. They can't just outright do them. And the reason they need a warrant is because if there's a warrant, that means a federal judge is reviewing what they're doing. And that federal judge is making a determination whether they have reached the level they need to in order to be able to do this type of invasive search. And that's what this is. As I think Jeffrey mentioned earlier, these are Fourth Amendment searches, right? They're a violation of your Fourth Amendment when they go ahead and look at your devices, or they illegally tap your phones or grab your communications from the cell towers. So yeah, we're living in, Stephanie, you're 100% right. We're living in very bizarre times. November's not that far away. We all have to stay vigilant, stay strong, and move forward. And hopefully by January, we'll be back here, and we'll be here the last Thursday in January, and we'll have a big smile on our face, and we'll be looking at these questions as ancient history.
And
all right.
by the way,
All right, so
Hey, Mike.
That's going to be a wrap. First, again, let me truly, truly thank all of the attorneys that participated tonight. Can't thank you enough. Can't say enough about each of you and such an important role you play. Not only with all of your clients, but clearly you've just been so invaluable to National Action Network, and we really thank you for that. Again, the last Thursday in September, which is when our next legal night will be, is the 24th. And again, I am so thrilled that we were coast to coast and north and south, east and west. That I think when we come back in September, of course, even if we're going live with a live audience, I think we have to find a way to keep all of you involved. This has been so revealing tonight. It's just tremendous. And again, you, the people, we can't thank you enough, because we really do stand on your shoulders, and you are the ones that motivate us and make us want to do the things that we do to help this nation continue to move forward. So with that said, I want to remind everybody again that we are here every Saturday morning with our Saturday Action Rally with the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. I want to remind everybody that you can go to Al Sharpton Books to pre-order his book, Rise Up, Confronting a Country at a Crossroads. Again, want to say thank you. Our president and founder is the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. The chairman of our board is the Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson. I'm Attorney Michael Hardy, the general counsel here at National Action Network. And we will say thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you. 877-626-4651. That's our toll-free number. We really are 24/7. People, even in the middle of the night, those messages, if we're not picking up, the messages will get to us. William Allen is here every day. We are here for you. So thank you all. God bless you, and have a great evening.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Great to see
Bye.
everybody.
Hey, Don Jones.
Okay.